name is Matthew Thurman. I attend the Cabot Church of Christ in Cabot, Arkansas. In the book of Philippians, Paul talks about imitating Christ, and more specifically, Christ's self-sacrificial love for others. And when I reflect on this, I can't help but think about my mom. You see, my mom is an elementary school teacher, and for as long as I can remember, she spent countless hours, nights, effort, and sometimes even money to make sure that she could give her students the best education that she could possibly give them. And it encouraged me because she consistently put her students' needs above herself. And I'll have people, even years later, who come up to me and tell me how much they loved her and her class. And their stories go to show the impact she had on their lives. Her self-sacrificial love encourages me. That kind of love is powerful. It's the kind of love that leaves a mark. Not just on the people receiving it, but on the people who witness it. I want you to think about that kind of person who encourages you through their actions. Maybe it's a parent or grandparent who's quietly sacrificed so much to give you the opportunities that they never had. Or a teacher who's stayed after class to help you understand a difficult subject. Or a minister who's been with you through a difficult season. Or a friend who's consistently been by your side. Or maybe it's even the little old lady who sits on the front row with a warm smile and a kind word that somehow always lifts your spirits. I want you to take a moment and picture that person. Remember how their life pointed you towards Christ. Or maybe you can't think of someone. Sometimes the examples feel distant. Or maybe you're in a season where you're longing for that kind of Christ-like love. Maybe you can only think of someone who's so focused on themselves that they harm the others around them and they don't even realize it. Maybe that person is someone in this room. We've all had times where we're more focused on ourselves than the others around us. And Paul recognizes that problem in the Philippian church. And to help with that, Paul gives this. Starting in Philippians chapter 2, starting in verse 19, Paul says, I hope in the Lord Jesus to send Timothy to you soon, that I may also be cheered when I receive news about you. I have no one else like him who will show genuine concern for your welfare, for everyone looks out for their own interests, not those of Jesus Christ. But you know that Timothy has proved himself, because as a son with his father, he has served with me in the work of the gospel. I hope therefore to send him as soon as I see how things go with me, and I am confident in the Lord that I myself will come soon. But I think it is necessary to send back to you Epaphroditus, my brother, co-worker, and fellow soldier, who is also your messenger, whom you sent to take care of my needs. For he longs for all of you and is distressed because you heard he was ill. Indeed, he was ill and almost died, but God had mercy on him, and not on him only, but also on me, to spare me sorrow upon sorrow. Therefore I am all the more eager to send him, so that when you see him again, you may be glad, and I may have less anxiety. So then, welcome him in the Lord with great joy, and honor people like him, because he almost died for the work of Christ. He risked his life to make up for the help you yourselves could not give me. And when I read this passage and the one right before, I ask myself, why did Paul put this here? It seems so random. You see, earlier in chapter 2, Paul has been strongly encouraging the church in Philippi to imitate Christ, to have the same mindset as Jesus, who humbled himself in obedience to the point of death on a cross. And then right after, calling them to do everything without grumbling and arguing. So it seems here that Paul just inserts simple travel plans. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Paul is doing something brilliant here. He's using this section as a dual-purpose passage, not only sharing practical news, but also giving living, breathing examples of people living out Christ faithfully. Earlier in chapter 2, Paul describes Jesus, and he tells the church how to act. Starting in verse 3, do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interests of others. Paul essentially says, here's the standard we ought to live up to, and here are some people that you know living it out. Timothy and Epaphroditus. With Timothy, it was his genuine care for others over himself, just like Jesus. He wasn't looking out for his own interests. he was looking out for the interests of Jesus Christ and the well-being of the church. And Epaphroditus, he completed his mission to Paul, even to the point of risking his life. He thought more about Paul's needs and the needs of the church than his own well-being, just like Jesus did on the cross. So I ask us again, who do you have in your life that reflects Christ, self-sacrificial love? And if you can't think of anyone right now, look at Timothy and Epaphroditus. Be encouraged by their faith and their example. Let their stories remind us of what it's like to live like Jesus. And hopefully, by being encouraged, we can be motivated to go out and do the same for others, to reflect Christ more clearly in our own lives. So I want us to imagine together how the church could be if we let ourselves be encouraged by the actions of others. Picture the chain reaction that could happen when we allow these examples to motivate us. We go out and become the same kind of reflection for Christ to the people around us. And that's the kind of community that Paul called the church in Philippi to be. And it's the same kind of community that Christ is calling us to be today.